Hi, welcome to Sanjeev Kapoor Khazana. I'm Sonika and the recipe that we're making today is a cake. Let's quickly take a look at the ingredients to make green tea cake with white chocolate frosting. Refined flour, condensed milk, butter, green food coloring, vanilla essence, white chocolate, sugar, baking powder, baking soda, green tea bags. So to start preparing this cake, let's start with greasing the mold first. So I've got some butter with me and I'm just going to brush it lightly on a cake tin in which I'm going to bake this cake in. So after greasing this baked tin nicely, I want to dust it with some flour, so just to make sure that the cake comes out beautifully. So let's take some flour and just very lightly dust this cake with some of that. Just get rid of the excess flour and we're going to keep the tin aside and start preparing the cake batter. So to start making the batter, let's begin with creaming together some butter and castor sugar in a bowl. And to this, I'm going to add some castor sugar. I'm going to use a whisk to whisk this up till it's nice and light and fluffy. So my butter and castor sugar, I've whisked them together and it's nice and creamy. And to this, let's add in some condensed milk. And now let's mix this together. Now next, let's add in the real fun ingredient in this cake, and that is some green tea. So I've got a green tea bag with me here and we're going to make a decoction out of it which is really strong, and we'll be using very little of this, not too much. So let's start making the green tea. I've already got some green tea with me, which is basically you need to use warm water. So let's get a little bit of that. And now you want to go dip and you want to basically get all the flavor and the color out of the green tea bags into the water, and we're going to use that to make this cake. So now my green tea decoction is ready. Let's pour this in and mix it around. And I am getting this beautiful tea smell in the cake. And now let's whisk this well again. Next, let's add in some color, because we're not going to get a green color because of the green tea, but what it gives a lovely taste and a flavor. For the color, we're going to use some artificial food color. So in goes a few drops of green. Let's also add in a few drops of vanilla essence first and then mix it up together. So a little bit of vanilla essence. And now I'm going to give all of this a nice mix. And you'll see how beautiful it looks as the green color folds in with the cake. Now next, into this, let's sift in the dry ingredients. I'm going to add some refined flour along with baking powder and baking soda. So in goes the refined flour, baking powder and baking soda. And I'm going to mix all these ingredients, sift them in just to make sure I have a nice lump-free batter. And now I'm going to fold these ingredients well to form the delicious cake batter. So now my batter is ready and my tins are prepared as well. So let's just pour in some of the batter into the cake tin. To make life a little easier for me and I don't have to go through slicing the cake perfectly, I'm just going to set it into identical tins, different. I'm just going to fill them halfway through. And now we're going to bake this in a preheated oven at 180 degrees Celsius for about 20 to 22 minutes or till these cakes are perfectly baked. Okay, so I've got a cake out of the oven and I've demolded it, and what I've left with is these two beautiful slices of cake. And now we need to prepare a frosting to go over it, and we're going to prepare a really simple white chocolate one. So I'm going to make a ganache, for which I'm going to just warm up some cream. And now that the cream is warmed through nicely, let's mix it along with some white chocolate to make the ganache. So let's get the chocolate in a bigger bowl, and now I'm going to add in the cream to this. And now I'm going to mix this really well so the chocolate melts with the heat of the cream and we have a nice smooth ganache ready. Now next, let's fold in some whipped cream into this. Let's add in some more. So after a couple of minutes of folding this in really well, you're going to have a really beautiful icing for the cake ready. And now we're going to put this in the fridge and we're going to let it sit there till we can prep up the rest of our cake. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out the cake into layers. So I'm going to start with trimming off the top first. And now I'm going to cut this cake into another half. Now let's begin the process of putting together this cake. So now to start off, let's start with just applying some of the cream on the base of this cake board so that it doesn't move too much, it's not a wobbly cake. And now I'm going to keep my first layer below. And next what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lightly brush some sugar syrup over this. Now what this does is it really helps the cake to be nice and moist. And now we're going to put some of the icing over this. So I'm going to use a palette knife. And we're going to apply a nice thin layer of the icing over this. And now I'm going to place a second layer over this. And now we're going to apply more of the sugar syrup over this. And now let's apply more of the icing. And now for my final layer of cake, sugar syrup on this one as well. Okay, and now I'm just going to trim off the edges slightly. Now let's just get rid of all the excess portion that we've trimmed and get a taste of it too. It's got a nice green tea flavor and it's the perfect amount of sweet. And I'm just going to clean this up with a tissue paper. And now I'm going to cover the cake with more of the icing. So let's take that and apply it on the top of the cake first. And I want to cover the cake nice and evenly with this lovely chocolate ganache icing. And now we're going to cover the sides as well. Okay, and now I'm just going to clean the palette knife a little by dipping it in warm water. And we're just going to even out all of this icing. And now I'm going to fill the remaining of the icing into a piping bag so we can pipe rosettes out of it. And now I'm going to pipe rosettes out of this. And finally, I've got some of these leftover cake crumbs which are a beautiful pale green. and I'm going to drizzle that in the center of the cake. And finally, I'm going to just sprinkle a few of these colorful gold and silver tiny balls over this, so it just glams up the cake a little. So here it is, a very exciting green tea and white chocolate cake. Make sure you try this recipe because it's perfectly suited for any occasion. Hi, this is Sanjeev Kapoor Khazana, and it is where you'll find a number of brilliant recipes. So if you really like the recipes and are learning something from them, make sure you hit the like and the subscribe button.